Welcome, guys, to the Gridiron Gurus. My name's Keith. I'm joined by Jesse, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize if my voice sounds cracked or anything like that. We've been interviewing a couple guys today. This is our third video for the day, and I know we're a little early, but we was already here. Decided to go ahead and just go live and get today's show over with. I know it says 6 o'clock, but we're going to go ahead and live about 5 hours early. If you're joining us, guys, make sure that you join us in the comments. And that's all right. But anyways, we've got a couple interviews that are coming out. We did today. One of them was Coach Jamie Chadwell, who coaches at Coastal Carolina. It was an amazing interview with him. Listen to him talk. Hopefully, we can bring him back on at some point in the future, and that will be coming out on Monday. Is that the 20th?
No, it's the
31st, or is that the 30th? 31st.
Oh, 31st.
Coming out May 31st.
Memorial Day.
Be about Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Be about noon when we release that on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. It'll be available on all of those. And then the following Monday, which will be the 7th, we are releasing our interview with Sparky Woods, who is the head advisor to Mack Brown at UNC. And that another one was a great interview.
That was a great interview.
And to hear him talk about the places that he's been and things like that. But we're going to go ahead and get into today's topics, which you can see on the bottom of the screen. We chose to go with, safe and bold predictions for each conference. We're going to try to pick our safe pick for the conference champion, and as well as a bold prediction for that conference as well. It might be out of the box. It might shock people, but that's what it is. It's a bold prediction. Things might fall in these teams' favor. But anyways, and then we're going to do our what ifs. What if this team was good? Why is it good for college football? And then as well as our 5 and 5. And for that 5 and 5, we've chose top
rivalry games to watch every single year.
Every year, even if the teams are one team is up and one team's down, or both teams are down. But it's almost like a bucket list where we want to go see these teams play. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start into it. Bold predictions. I don't know which one you have on the top of your list. I've got the Pac-12. If you want to go ahead and start with the Pac-12, we can do that.
We can. We're going bold first or safe?
I'm gonna go safe first, just because it's kind of a consensus thing, or at least for us, it's a consensus thing to win that conference. But my safe bet for the Pac-12 is the Washington.
Yeah, and I the same way. I've got the Huskies as my safe bet.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people will probably have them as a safe bet. They have quite a bit returning on both sides of the ball. And they actually, I was trying to pull it up here. They have 11 offensive starters returning and 8 on defense returning. And a year ago, they won the Pac-12 North.
Mm-hmm.
Should have been in the conference championship.
Right.
Ideally, probably would have won the conference championship. And yet, they had COVID issues that took effect.
That prevented the game itself.
Prevented it from being able to play in it. So I think they're a safe bet to win the Pac-12.
I imagine they are.
But yes, that's mine.
Of course, that's a safe pick.
That's a safe pick. Yeah, it's a safe pick. That's who likely will probably win it.
Right. I believe that the bold prediction for me is going to be USC.
That's funny. That's exactly what I.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And if you're just joining us, guys, all these lists that we make, we do not confer on. We kind of say this is what we're going to do.
Actually, we hope that we're going to be different because it gives us more to talk about.
Right, absolutely. But it's just funny that a lot of times when we do these lists, we're right on the same page.
Yeah.
Not always, especially on our movie lists, but
yeah.
That 5 and 5 was actually kind of funny. But I think USC has an outside shot.
I think so.
And I think when we talked about this the last episode, it's better for college football if USC is good.
It is.
I believe you actually might have been your team that you picked.
They were my team that I picked.
Right,
and actually, when we get to this 5 and 5 at the end, I'm going to talk about them again for a reason. But it is. It's more exciting for college football, and I think it's better for the entire Pac-12 conference when they're good.
Absolutely.
Just because it gives more of a I don't know the word to use. I guess attractive
Mm-hmm.
team to watch.
The
People know
sexiness
about,
factor.
yeah, there we go. People know about USC and things.
Right.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that USC is going to win the Pac-12 because I think Washington wins the conference.
I do too.
But I don't think it's, even though it's a bold prediction, I don't think it's far fetched to say that USC could win it or could at least contend for
I
it.
agree.
They have 8 on offense coming back, 8 on defense, and they went 5-1 last year.
Right.
So I do think that there is an opportunity there that could be made.
Oh, I agree.
And they got Notre Dame on the schedule this year. That game comes back. So
that's going to be such a good game to watch.
it's going to be a great game to watch. But that game could really kind of spark a run with them. Could give them a lot of confidence that they need.
Right. I agree.
To push through the rest of the schedule. So
I agree.
I'm not taking them out of the equation. I think that there is an opportunity there.
Absolutely. And then we even talked about the Rose Bowl, which it's a Pac-12 Big Ten.
It is, yeah.
And we're sick and tired of seeing Oregon
Yeah, man. I just
stuck in there. I'd love to see.
love their uniforms. They got nice uniforms.
Absolutely, but
Seems like they
I'm
have
just,
a uniform per game.
they have enough. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Enough combos. But that game, the Rose Bowl, is just better if USC, whether it's a new part of the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
It's just a great thing when USC is represented in the Rose Bowl.
And I think I mentioned it on the show last week. I want a USC Michigan Rose Bowl. That's
That would
what I
be
want to
so
see.
good.
I
That
would
would
love
be
to
so
see
good.
a USC Michigan Rose Bowl.
Right. Oh, I agree. Moving on, we're going to the SEC, and I'm pretty sure both of them on the safe pick is going to be LSU.
I was going to say
kidding.
Florida.
I'm just kidding. No, the safe pick is Alabama, and that's for obvious reasons. I mean, they've won so many national titles in the past 5 or 6 years, 3 in the past 6 years, I think.
Yeah, and they just reload. They got
right.
even we mentioned this. I don't know if it was the last episode or the episode before, but we were talking about Alabama. Well, originally I had said that I thought A&M beats Alabama,
Right.
and I've taken that back. Hold up, don't leave just yet. I've taken that back because Alabama, they got that transfer receiver.
Mhm.
They already have John Mechie, and then their defense. I think it was 9 or 10 defensive starters they have returning.
I think
pretty
it was
much the entire
9,
defense.
and then
is
they
coming
added
back.
Toa
They added Toa, yeah, and so
to a weak linebacker core, so he's going to start.
yeah, and so Alabama is a very safe pick for obvious reasons.
Alabama-
They're going to win the conference.
If you're Alabama, if you're a fan of Alabama, or you're a fan of the safe pick is that they'll be number 1 seed going into the playoffs.
Most
So
likely,
you know,
most likely.
if you're saying, oh well, conference, it's a safe pick. It's a safe pick for a national bid.
Well, it would be silly to say that an Alabama that runs the table in the SEC isn't a number 1 seed. That's
Absolutely.
impossible.
Absolutely.
They're going to be if they run the entire table, they go undefeated in the conference. They're a 1 seed.
Don't they play Miami at the beginning of the season too?
No, they have Miami on the schedule, but they don't play with them. They don't play it. I mean
They're on the
they're
schedule.
They're gonna
the game will happen.
yeah
and
they're going to be
Alabama
on the
will-
same field as Miami. Is that
Okay.
was that your question?
Yeah, that was what I was saying. So,
Alabama and Miami are going to be on the same field together for a
Right.
game.
the starters will be
Will they
together
be
for
playing?
about 5 minutes.
No, they won't be. Yeah, for about 5. If that. But yeah.
But the safe pick for the SEC is obviously Alabama.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. What's your bold prediction?
My bold prediction, and I'm going back to my original call that A&M would be Alabama. It's not going to happen, but it'd be cool. My bold prediction is A&M because
I
even though
agree.
they're losing a lot, they are losing a lot. Kellen Mond was fantastic last year. They had a good secondary. A lot of key pieces on the offensive line that they're losing. Pretty much the entire offensive line they're
Right.
losing.
Right.
But they have 6 offensive and 6 defensive starters returning. So I don't think that it's far-fetched either with them to say that there's an opportunity. I don't think it happens. But if I'm making a bold prediction, I think they have a better shot than, say, Georgia.
Right.
And I know that sounds crazy, but I mean,
No, I agree.
I
agree
think
that
the winner
A&M
comes from the West.
Right, I agree. The A&M definitely does have a chance to knock off Alabama. I mean, just coaching standpoint, Jimbo Fisher's done a good job, and I think that they're a little hungry from last year, getting left out of the playoffs. I think they felt like they should have been there and they weren't. So I'd say with a chip on their shoulder, they have a chance. Probably a better chance than mine, but mine, like I said, it's a bold prediction.
Yeah.
My bold prediction is Florida comes out of the SEC.
I thought that's where you were going, and that's interesting that you picked them, and I'll tell you why. Florida and Alabama play in the regular season this year. It's their turn to play.
Yep.
So, during that game, we'll kind of get a chance to see, because, I mean, Florida or Georgia's coming out of the East.
Yeah, it's either or. There's nobody else.
I mean, unless, this is our year, it's our year in Tennessee football to be good, every year. Anyway, I'm going to get off that. I'm probably going to lose the other viewer we have here for that. But just kidding. But anyways, it's going to be Florida or Georgia. So that game against Alabama in the regular season is going to really tell us what we need to know. It's going to tell us if Florida has what they need to match up with Alabama.
Right.
So it is a bold pick, but that's it's not crazy far fetched either.
Right. No, it's not. I think, and I don't know that Florida beats them in the regular season.
I don't think so.
But I think they can run the table and then meet them back in the, and then I think they win the title, beat them in the championship game. Boldly.
Okay, I was like, what?
Boldly. I'm not saying they would. If you said, you have to put $100 down, Florida versus Alabama, I'm going to put my money on Alabama. But it's a bold prediction, just for the SEC. Anyways, going to move on, and we're going to talk a little bit about the ACC.
ACC, okay.
Yeah, or that's who I have next. I don't know if you do or not.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's who
but the safe prediction, I'm sure that we're probably going to be in agreement on, is Clemson. Clemson's the safe bet.
Yeah.
And it's the same argument for the SEC.
Right.
Clemson's going to be 1, 2, or 3 ranked in there somewhere, depending on how the rest of the nation does. Alabama does.
Oh, I agree.
Ohio State will be in that conversation, which I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. But Clemson is obviously the...
Yeah, they're the safe bet. And, obviously they're losing, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Amari Rogers, just to name a few. But they're also bringing back, first of all, DJ.
Stop.
I'm not going to say his name. I know, I'm not going to try. He looked pretty good. He, obviously this is his first time actually opening as a starter.
Right.
So, we'll see what happens, how well that goes. But then they have Ross as a receiver that's coming back. If everything goes well with his injury and everything, he recovers well. They have some pieces. They have 5 offensive starters returning, 10 defensive starters returning.
Right.
And just like in Titletown, down there in Tuscaloosa, in Death Valley, defense wins championships.
Right.
I mean, I think any coach would say defense wins championships.
Yeah.
And
even the offensive guys say that.
I'm an offensive guy, and I'm saying that. It's just the truth.
Right.
But their defense has been their bread and butter.
Right.
And so just by them having 10 defense starters coming back, that tells me all I need to know. They're a safe bet.
Right. They're the safe bet. My bold prediction for the ACC is North Carolina.
We're right on hitting on the
and it might be
on the head again.
It might be just where we interviewed Mr. Sparky Woods, but you look at what UNC ended last year on,
right?
And the beatdown they had on Miami, and the 2 running backs that went over 1,000 yards, Michael Carter and Javonte Williams.
Right.
I mean, you had 2 backs at over 1,000 yards. They add Ty Chandler from Tennessee. They've got the quarterback coming back, Sam Howell.
Right.
I don't know that's even that much of a bold prediction to say North Carolina wins.
I don't think
the
it's
ACC.
I don't think it's a bold prediction. Here's why. Here's why I say this. I don't think it's crazy to say North Carolina. Well, let me say this. I think it's a safe bet to say North Carolina is in the title game. They're on the opposite side of Clemson.
Right.
I think it's safe to say North Carolina is in the title game against Clemson. I don't think it's crazy to say North Carolina beats Clemson, knocks them out of playoff contention. Well, and here's why. Sam Howell obviously is already a Heisman frontrunner on a lot of people's big boards.
Right.
Get this. You know how many offensive linemen they're bringing back?
I'm going to assume 5.
All five.
All five.
All five. Their
When-
entire starting offensive
When you
line
said that,
is coming back.
right,
Yes, they lost Michael Carter. Yes, they lost Javonte Williams. They're bringing in Ty Chandler.
right, and Ty
They-
Chandler is going to be he's
and
a perfect scheme fit there.
He's going to be a perfect scheme fit. We saw what he can do at Tennessee. You know, he can play. The guy can play.
Absolutely.
And then Coach Woods talked about on the interview, which you need to watch in a couple weeks. Great interview.
Absolutely.
But he talked about that they have talent at the running back position
Right.
behind with Ty Chandler, excuse me, and they can play. They
Right.
can play. They have 8 on offense coming back, returning starters coming back, and 10 on defense coming
Right.
back. So their entire defense is intact as well.
Right.
So I don't think it's. I think all right. The ACC championship is North Carolina Clemson, and I don't think it's crazy to say North Carolina wins that game.
I don't think it is either. And that's the thing with a bold prediction. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
Wake Forest or
No, that's
Florida
that's a
State
stupid prediction.
or any those would be a dumb prediction. This is
Yeah.
a bold, but you look at it. A bold is an outside looking in, but you're
Right.
not crazy for saying it.
right,
They have a
right.
chance, and that's kind of the thing that I want to make sure that we know about this. Is it's not an outside chance. They have, and I'll say this too. Out of the 3 conferences that we've already talked about, that Pac-12, SEC, and ACC, the UNC has the most realistic chance out of any of those.
Yeah.
Out of Florida for me,
Yeah.
or
Oh, yeah.
a Texas A&M for you, or we both said
Agreed.
USC in the Pac-12.
I agree.
UNC has the best chance. And I look down at my other ones, the Big 10 and the Big 12, and I'm looking at my bold predictions there, and I would still say UNC has the best chance. Not only, especially if they can knock off Clemson in that title game, be undefeated going into it.
Could you imagine if they make the playoff?
That's where I was
where you're
going with
going.
that. Yeah, they have an outside chance looking in on a national playoff berth.
Man, I know we're gonna get off the rails by talking about this, but how cool is that Mac Brown leaves coaching, leaves Texas,
Right,
gets into the booth, gets in analyst mode,
right,
and a lot of people had him pegged as he's done.
yeah.
He's
He's
beyond
riding
his
off into
prime.
the sunset, all that good
And
stuff.
here he comes back to North Carolina, who's known for basketball. They're not known for football.
No, they're not.
Comes to North Carolina, and all of a sudden, he's got them competing.
Absolutely.
And just proves that he has more in the tank. That there's more to it. That, there's more coaching left
Right.
in the tank for him.
Right. I agree.
It's so
100%. I 100% agree. And he's done a good job.
Cool. A great job.
Going to move on to the Big Ten, and I'm sure that we're both going to look at this and say it's the same for the Big Ten.
I think the safe bets are. I think all of our safe predictions, except one. I have one safe prediction that might be different, but I think they're all going to be
I think your Big 12 will probably be different than mine.
I think so.
But the safe bet of the Big Ten is Ohio State.
Yeah, it's Ohio State.
Ryan Day and Ohio State, they're just going to reload just like Clemson, just like Alabama.
Right.
They're going to rule that conference. They'll be in the national playoff again, and we've talked about it a little bit off air of the expansion to 8 and all that. And the reason that I think that's a good thing is you prevent. Well, there's going to be 3 teams that take up the 4. You're nationally you're looking for a 4th, but Ohio State's one of those 3 that you're saying, well, they're going to be in the playoff again unless something. They get beat by Purdue and then don't make the conference championship,
Right.
outside looking in kind of thing, like they were a couple years ago.
Yeah. I agree with everything you just said. I think it's easy to say that they're a safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost a little. I think all these teams that we really talked about have lost enough pieces that there's opportunity for one of these other teams that we have as a bold prediction to make a move.
Right.
But at the same time, with recruiting classes, transfer portal, just player development in general, they just reload. So
Right. They just reload.
yeah. But for my bold prediction, and we might be different, but my bold prediction is Indiana. Indiana's my
You're
bold.
kidding me.
Well, all right. Well,
and this was
one
the one when
conference
we were
that-
making our lists. I said I'm going to put one team in parentheses. So we're going to talk a little bit about Indiana, then I'll talk about my other team that
Okay.
I've got
Well,
selected.
and I'll tell you, Indiana. By the way, here they are. I got them here. Michael Penix is that quarterback's name.
Oh yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. was crazy explosive.
Right.
Crazy explosive. That guy is very, very talented. Had he not gotten hurt, He tore his ACL.
Right.
Had he not gotten hurt, I just wonder how much further they would have went. They played Ohio State well. They did play Ohio State well.
They did.
But they have 9 offensive starters returning, 10 on defense.
Right.
And honestly, and I say this honestly, I think that they could potentially upset Ohio State in the regular season.
I agree. I 100%
I think
agree
that
with
they
that.
could pull the upset.
I agree.
I think they're going to Columbus.
That
this
was
year,
what I was going to ask.
think, which is difficult.
It's hard.
But I believe it was Indiana 2 years ago that went to Columbus and gave him a heck of a ball game.
They did. They did.
So,
and that's what I'm saying is like all you're looking for is that chance.
yeah.
And I think it was maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4, that Ohio State went to Purdue and ended up getting, beat pretty handedly.
Yeah.
That's all you need is that chance, and we're looking for the team that has the best opportunity, and I believe it is Indiana.
I think it is.
The other one, I can't really say much more because you've hit all the notes that I have, but my other bold prediction, I guess that's where I'll change at, is Penn State. I can see Penn State coming out of that and being nationally relevant.
And I like that bold prediction because I think that needs to happen. I think, we talked about it a time or two about James Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
I think in order for James Franklin to keep his job, I think he needs to make a big splash.
Right.
I think he needs to if he's not winning the conference, he needs to be contending for the conference.
I absolutely agree.
I think he needs to be in that championship
I absolutely agree. And we also talked about it's going to depend on his hot seat. Depends on not only how he does, if he can get outside looking in on the national playoff, maybe with one loss to Ohio State, or even winning the conference. It also depends on how Michigan does with Harbaugh. Because if he is at least in contention and Michigan is floundering, just not doing well at all, he can at least somehow save his job based on comparison. But if he's struggling and Michigan is up, then I think he's looking for a job next year.
Well, yeah, I can agree. I agree with your point. But I think Harbaugh's in the same boat. I think it's a make or break year for Harbaugh.
But when I look at these bold predictions, I think Indiana has a better season than Michigan does.
I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because, Harbaugh and Franklin, I think they play each other, don't they?
I think we've already looked at that.
They're in the same division.
I think so too.
Only one of them can win the game.
Right.
They both got to play Ryan Day at Ohio State.
Yep.
It just, I think Indiana's on that side. Maybe. I believe they're on that side, though.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I feel like when we were talking about Brett Bielema at Illinois, I don't feel like
Indiana. He's going to throw a whole wrench into this, too, with how well he does there.
Well, he will. He's on the opposite division.
Right.
Which kind of saves Harbaugh for a year or two, depending on when they get to play, if he's still there.
Right.
But, Franklin goes to him. He's got to play
right.
Bielema. Granted, he's an Illinois team that have struggled.
Right. But could you imagine if Franklin loses to Bielema in Illinois? Which is possible.
It's possible.
And that's why they were my second team. I didn't want them as my bold prediction, but I thought I want to throw them in there anyways because I could see them coming up and winning it. But I still think my bold prediction is Indiana with a sneaky outside chance of winning the conference.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so we've got one left, and this was the one I think that we might be.
We're going to be different.
We might be different on both, just to be honest, on our bold and our safe.
I think we're going to be because I wanted the bold to be different, so I went different. I went really different.
Okay, we might be the same. Then.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. Whatever. All right.
Big 12 safe pick, Oklahoma, and I assumed you're going Iowa State.
Yeah, I went, and here's why. Oklahoma. I get why everyone would say Oklahoma is a safe pick.
Right.
A safe pick. Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley has done a phenomenal job.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, they won the Big 12 last year with Spencer
Ratliff.
Yeah, Ratliff. And I get that, but here's the thing: they have young talent. Granted, they won it a year ago, but it came down to one possession. Okay.
Right.
They have young talent, and they do have some talent coming in. I get that. But
absolutely,
I love the job Matt Campbell's done. Super cool hearing Coach Dabo talk about Matt Campbell.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But I really like Coach Campbell, and I like that he has veteran leadership coming back.
Right.
His quarterback is going to be a 4-year starter.
Mm-hmm.
I like them. I think that they are a safe pick. I
put them in parentheses too, just in case we was the same on the safe. And I agree, it's a safe pick.
I mean, they got 10 on offense coming back, 8 on defense.
Wow.
I mean, they're 4 players away from having their entire offensive and defensive starters all back. So
from a team that was really good.
A team that was really, really good. I think that they're a safe pick. I think I like
Absolutely
what they got going on.
All right, I want to hear your bold.
Okay, my bold is really, really, really bold. My bold I went with Texas. I went Texas. Don't tell me you did the same thing. I was banking on you to go like Iowa State or something. Dang it, Keith. I did that just because.
I did it.
All right, go ahead.
That's why I did.
Go ahead and start your notes.
Texas has an outside shot going in just because of Sark. Steve Sarkisian as the head coach. He's a great offensive mind. There's a lot of good players in Texas. So even what was left over from, I can't remember the head coach that was there before that lost his job. Shows you how bad he was, I guess.
No. Wasn't Osborne.
No, it was.
Golly.
Because he used to coach at Houston.
Herman.
Tom Herman.
Why?
That's right.
Tom Osborne. Tom Osborne was the Nebraska coach from you. Golly,
years
I apologize, y'all.
Tom Herman.
Tom Herman. I knew I got the Tom right. Golly.
You just got the last name really wrong.
Gosh, I already know. Go ahead and mark a note, whatever time this is. Brian Hamey's going to watch this and text me.
We're at about the 26-minute mark. So yeah, you're probably going to get
I'm going to get a text.
26:30, you're going to get a text from Brian saying, "What are you talking about?" Anyways, Texas, there's enough talent on that team left over. Because when you watched that team last year, I didn't think that they were that bad as far as talent-wise.
Yeah, they weren't.
I could see them contending with Oklahoma, contending with Iowa State, and winning the conference and being nationally relevant. And when I say nationally relevant, I don't think he goes undefeated and all that. He could, but I doubt it. But he'll be ranked top 25. I don't think that's too far out of the realm, but I think he does. He has a chance to win the Big 12, and maybe a 2-loss season.
Well, it's bold because in order for him to make it to the Big 12 championship, he's gonna have to beat Oklahoma.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. He's gonna beat some teams that he probably shouldn't, and lose to some teams that he probably shouldn't. And I don't know they're out of conference schedule. It might be a lot easier than what I'm thinking, but
his opening game, I think it's the opening game. I know they play early, but I believe it's week 1. Plays Arkansas, which I don't think. I know a lot of people are probably like, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
I think Arkansas is going to be pretty good. I think
Coach Pittman, has got something special, and I think he's got him fired up. And I think that might be a trap game for Sarkisian, and it might put him on the hot seat early and have him coaching for his job, which will make the Oklahoma game a lot better.
I was listening to another podcast the other day, and I'm gonna misquote this. It's actually from Cody Muse. Thanks, Cody Muse, for directing me to this podcast. But I think it's called Late Kick.
With Josh Plate.
Yeah.
Great
I do listen to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you've not listened to it, of course, listen to this, but listen to that too. That's a good one. But he was talking about that game, and I think the spread for that game was like 1.5, 2 points, something like that.
Something close. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it was actually in favor of Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. I may have misquoted that, but I believe. Right. Which kind of was like, wow. Listening to that, I thought, wow. That's pretty impressive.
Right.
Because Texas they went 7-3. They had a pretty good year, and Arkansas. I don't remember the record, but I think they won like maybe 4. I think
they was like 4-5 or 4-6 because I think one of their games got canceled.
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive.
Right, it is.
But Sark, we see what he can do offensively.
Right.
He's a good offensive mind. Reminds me a lot of Lane Kiffin.
Very much so.
For a lot of reasons, more than just football.
I wasn't going to go there, but I'm glad you did.
Anyway, he's got 5 offensive starters and 7 defensive starters coming back.
Right.
Which is pretty good. That's
right.
pretty good.
Right.
He's got to replace a quarterback.
Right.
I don't think that'll be as big of a problem for him as it would be for some other coaches.
Right.
But I could see them competing.
Absolutely. That's it for me on that. On just the safe and bold conference predictions. Going to move into our second.
What if segment.
The what if segment. What if this team is good? What if? What if they're good? What benefit? Or does college football benefit? Or it should benefit? And my what if is Miami.
Yeah.
I don't know who you chose, but my what if is Miami.
Well, mine is the complimentary pick to Miami, and that's Florida State.
Oh wow!
So, which is pretty cool that we picked two Florida teams.
That is neat.
What are the chances of that?
Well, look
these,
at the safe and bold predictions.
Yeah,
That's
really.
probably a good bet.
I like both these picks, and for one reason, which we're about to get to our rivalry games.
Right.
FSU and Miami is one of the best rivalry games every single year, and even in the years when
they're both bad.
Yeah, well, when you go back to, or even when just one's bad, when you go back to the years when James Winston and Jimbo Fisher were at Florida State, Florida State was on that really long streak. I can't remember now how many games it was, but they went on it went into 2 seasons.
Right.
And Miami, I think they had Duke Johnson, maybe running back at that time.
They did.
I can't remember the name of who the quarterback was then. But
I couldn't.
They gave him a game. Came down to I want to think a possession or two, something like that, and just a couple points.
Right.
And even in the years when one team is down,
right.
Just the pressure of that game,
right.
The amount of impact that game has on the rest of the season, how much that means to
each
program.
Absolutely.
It makes for an exciting game to watch.
Right. It does. It makes for a great game to watch. And I can remember being young and watching the Florida State Miami, and it was, the years, I think out of 3 or 4 years, I think 2 of them were decided by a missed field goal by Florida State.
Yeah.
And those games were really, really fun to watch. And not only does it, it's a good game, whether both are up or down, but if both teams are up, and it's funny that you mentioned Florida State, but because my main thing with Miami is when Miami's up, the conference is better. The ACC is better because right now it is dominated by Clemson.
It is.
And we mentioned earlier that North Carolina is going to make a push for them, and we talked with Sparky Woods. Make sure you check that out when it drops. But North Carolina is going to make a push at Clemson this year.
Yeah.
But the conference is better when Florida State and Miami are better. The national perspective of the ACC, because right now it's Clemson, it's everybody else.
I think the conference is better, and I think college football is better because you a lot of times get. Okay, I'll put this for example. How much better would that Florida State Alabama non-conference game we had?
Right.
I think 3, maybe 4 seasons ago.
Right, when they had
they had Francois at quarterback. I think
because he got hurt in the game.
Yeah, was it? Okay, maybe you're right. Yeah, but how much better would that game have been if that happened? The year when they had Jameis Winston
and Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah, how much better would that game have been then?
Was Dalvin Cook there at that point?
I'm not sure if he was still there or if he'd already moved on to the pros. He was during that era though.
Right.
But how much better would that game have been then?
Right.
How much better would
this year's Miami
an Alabama game, ironically enough, how much better would that game be if Miami was really good?
It was really
good. It was Miami. Imagine the Miami of 01 versus this Alabama team.
Right.
I mean, it would be an exciting game to watch.
Absolutely. It just makes for better football when you
have you better bowl games. I mean, you may get an Orange Bowl, Florida State and Tennessee. When we're good, but that's
when we're good.
When we're good.
Yeah,
I should have used a different. Now I wish I hadn't used Tennessee because
if you're going SEC and you're wanting to say them, you could say Georgia or Florida.
Yeah.
To get bumped into the Florida State or Miami.
Florida State Orange Bowl when they're both
or
good.
Florida Miami because they don't play.
Yeah, even better.
Or Georgia Florida State is what I would go with.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that just the college football as a whole is better when they're good. And I'll tell you what, going back to that podcast, Late Kick, I think is it called Late Kick?
I think so, and I think Josh Plate is the.
Josh Plate's he's the guy for 24/7
and he is
Sports.
so good. He's a really.
I love that podcast. I love that podcast. When I'm not listening to our stuff, checking the audio and everything, I'm listening to that now.
Right,
thanks again, Cody. But
that's funny that you mentioned because I knew exactly who you were talking about when you mentioned it.
I was listening to an episode. Matter of fact, I think it was yesterday.
Right.
And he was talking about FSU, talking about the recruiting that Norvell's doing down there and how well he's recruiting. and was saying, buy stock in FSU recruiting. And he was like, get ready because Florida State is about to come back. They're about to make a return.
They could.
And
And I hope for college football,
I think that the state of Florida is so heavily saturated with talented athletes, talented recruits, that and Florida State just has such a rich tradition, much like Miami.
Right.
I just think that kids are going to want to go there and play for them, and they're going to want to play for Norvell, who's had a lot of success. And you already see the transfer they had with Mackenzie Milton. So
exactly.
I think it'd be great to see.
All right, so going to move on to our last segment for the day. That's our 5 and 5. 5 topics, 5 minutes. Jesse never stays in it, but we don't focus on that. We focus on the fact that we get at least a talk about it. But I'm going to set the timer, and I generally have to stop. Our 5 and 5 is our best 5 rivalry matchups, or rivalry games that we would like to go watch in person.
Yeah, or just watch on TV.
Right.
These are the games that we watch every single year.
Right.
Some of them aren't every year, but when they're played.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer, and I will start. My number 5 is Florida versus Georgia.
That's a good one.
It's right there, right across the state line, and it's SEC, which I personally, I'm a big fan of the SEC. But especially now, where these two teams are getting very good, it's going to matter who plays in the SEC title game. That game now is relevant just for like I said, the title game.
You know who? Before I get into mine, you know what my most memorable moment of the Florida Georgia game is?
No.
I don't remember the year. I want to think it was like 7 or 8, 2007, 2008. The year before Florida had, or no, I may be misquoting this, maybe backwards, but I think it was 2007, 2008, and Georgia scores on the first possession and went nuts. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
They came running out on the field.
They came out on the field.
Yeah,
I do remember that.
That was, to me, it was cool because Mark Richt doesn't do that.
Right.
That's not Mark Richt at all. That's not his style. I mean, that was kind of cool to see, and I feel like it was something that my Florida had done the year before.
I think so.
I don't remember.
It was something either pregame or something like that.
Something like that.
They made a point.
To happen.
Absolutely.
So my number 5 is a game that doesn't happen often, but we got it back this year, and I love watching it. Is USC Notre Dame.
That's a good one.
I'm not a fan of either team.
No, I'm not a fan.
I can't stand Notre Dame, but something about those gold shiny helmets and that ugly red and yellow uniform when they play, it's just exciting to watch.
It's cool to watch. It's cool. And what was it? Because I believe there was a 30 for 30 on it. It was.
Is the one about USC?
Oh, never mind. It might not have been USC. I think it may have been Notre Dame and Miami. Catholics versus convicts.
You're talking about the U, yeah.
Catholics versus. Never mind.
I wouldn't mind watching that game again. I mean, again, going back to that, it'd be a good game if Miami was good.
Right. I'm gonna move on to my number 4 because we're already at 3 minutes and we're not gonna make it.
Right.
Number 4 is Florida State Miami, and for all the reasons we just talked about, so I'm not gonna go into it anymore.
Yeah, my number 4 is the game, Ohio State and Michigan. It's not been a game the last couple of years.
No, because Harbaugh's fixing to get fired, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
My number 3 is the Iron Bowl, Alabama-Auburn.
Whoa. Okay.
Alabama and Auburn in the Iron Bowl.
That's
because it's always exciting, even when Auburn's not very good. It's always competitive because it's right there in Alabama. It's the Iron Bowl.
My number 3 is FSU Miami.
Okay.
I love watching that game.
It's a fun game to watch. It's always competitive.
It's always exciting.
Right. My number 2 is the game, Ohio State Michigan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I've got them a little bit higher than you.
And something about watching Big Ten football. I don't know.
It puts me to sleep.
Well, I don't know.
For the general, but this one,
I like watching Big Ten football.
It's because there's a lot of offense. But this game right here, I actually get excited to watch.
Yeah. My number 2 is one that I think I grew to like as I got older.
Right.
I remember being a kid thinking, why is this an exciting game, an important game to a lot of people? But then I learned the history of the game and really enjoy it. It's the Army-Navy game.
Oh, yeah. I actually didn't even
Army,
think
Navy,
about
Navy
that.
Game.
Oh, I love that game. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. And then my number 1 is the Red River Rivalry. I was going to get that right this week.
Wow.
Red River Rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma.
They changed the name of that?
Really?
I think it's called the Red River Showdown now.
Showdown or shootout?
Or Shootout. My bad. Yeah,
Red
Shootout.
River Shootout. I'll go with the rivalry. I like that better.
Well, I appreciate the guy who thought of Shootout. Why he didn't think of that before, I don't know.
Red
but
River Rivalry.
Yeah.
Red River Shootout. That sounds better.
Well, Red River Shootout is easier to say.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
My number one, though, is, and I don't know how it's not your number one, it's the Iron Bowl. The Iron Bowl, man. Like the Iron
I
Bowl.
like it, but I don't know. There's something like, I guess it's the same thing with the Big 12 game. It's all offense, and I love it.
All
offense.
No
defense.
in that game.
No defense. But
There's
yeah,
just
my
a
number
lot.
one, Texas,
I mean,
Oklahoma. Yours is the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, the Kick Six was an exciting game.
Right.
Just a couple years ago when Auburn beat Georgia, and then beat Alabama.
On the interception over the top of the head.
No,
Or not
that was
interception,
the year of the
touchdown.
Kick Six.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about just a couple years ago when Auburn just ran through Georgia,
Oh,
and they beat
yeah,
Alabama,
yeah.
and lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game. I mean, those games have had a lot of impact.
Oh, absolutely.
And then there was a stretch there from 2009 to 2013 that the winner of that game won the national championship,
Right.
or was in the national
Yeah,
championship.
was represented.
Right. So it's a big game, but that's who I got.
All right. Well, that's it for us today, guys. Appreciate you all joining us. Make sure you listen to us on YouTube or Apple, Spotify podcasts, wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you guys go
Check
to
out those interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Go like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. The main page is right here at Gridiron Gurus. You got Real Rocky Top Red on Twitter, and then you got Tennessee Keith on Twitter as well. Guys, follow us. And if you guys have any questions, just either through the Anchor app, through YouTube, through Facebook,
Yep.
Any of that, guys. Just let us know what you want us to talk about, and we will definitely talk about it the next time we're live. Appreciate it, guys.